You're back. I want to thank you if you're listening. I'm your host, Paco. You're listening to Occupy the Media. And we heard there in the chat room that Harold, we had a couple of problems with the audio, and that was actually out of my control. I'm not sure. I apologize for that. We should be coming in clear now. So just to catch everybody up, if you missed it, we were just talking about the fact that the Romney people had asterisks besides the Romney delegates, and they were not in alphabetical order. They were at the top of the delegate slate, I believe, and that was being, I guess, passed around. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we got past that, past the asterisk besides the name. There's really nothing much we could do about that, except I think you said they were trying to wide it out or whatever. And, okay, so was there any other shenanigans after that going on?
Yeah, there's two main important things that I want to make sure we get to.
Okay.
First of all, there was allegations of ballot stuffing. And there were people who actually heard phone calls and personal conversations going on regarding that. And when that occurred was much later in the evening. Like I said, everything was totally behind schedule. This was supposed to end at 6, ended up ending at 9:30. And so by the time we got to the B delegates, of the main at-large delegates, the main group, a lot of Romney people had left at that point because it was much later than they expected. We had been there for, at this point, 11 or 12 hours. And so what happened was, if those delegate seats are not filled, if they are not occupied, they are not supposed to get the full amount of ballots. They're only allowed to get the number of ballots for how many people are still in that legislative district's, area. And people were hearing conversations, and I have video testimony, in the live stream, that it's okay, you can go home, we'll vote for you, basically. And there was actual witnesses where they were going up and getting the full count of ballots and having people fill in multiple ballots and turn them in. And that's something that, God, I just, like I said, learn from our mistakes. I wish I had video of that. I didn't even know they would try something like that. It seemed so just out there that I couldn't believe that anyone would attempt to do something so crazy. But it sounds like they might have. And so I would say, once again, for you guys that are going to be at these things, watch for that. That's something that is most likely to be attempted again.
Man, it's like you said, man, these shenanigans just get crazier and crazier. With the Arizona, Oklahoma, and the weekend before that, we got Nevada and Maine. And it's just, they're doing the same things. They got people passing around fake slates, the shenanigans that you're talking about. And we gotta make sure that we're on top of it, Now, you said there was one other one that went down too, or did you just mention that one?
The one other one I think is the most important one, because something very similar did happen in Oklahoma. That they're going to think, and that is the closure of the meeting that is not in accordance with Robert Rules of Order, which all of these conventions are governed by, is Robert's Rules of Order. And so what happened was, it's a long story, but basically the crowd was not following what the chairman wanted at that point. We still hadn't voted on our committee woman. It was going to a runoff vote. He was trying to push that to a proxy vote by email, which never happened, which is why people, turned down that motion. There was a huge majority, shouting nay against that. And when he realized that he wasn't going to get his way, he said, there's no longer a quorum because too many people have left. So in that case, he points at Randy Pullman, who is the ex-chair of the Arizona GOP, who stood up and said, Mr. Chairman, I motion that this meeting be adjourned. And the chairman at that point slammed his gavel and walked off the stage at 9:30 before we had tallied the votes, before we did the runoff vote on our committee woman, while there was still a lot of business in order. And what I want your listeners to know is that was in direct violation of, I've got it right in front of me here. I want to say it is Article 3, Section 17, and that is talking about the closure of a meeting. The chairman cannot close a meeting while there is business still in order without a privileged motion, and that requires, among many other things, a 2/3 majority vote from the floor. That opportunity was never given. There was just a motion and then a gavel being slammed, and they just walked off the stage, which is why we, like Oklahoma, had someone take the stage at that point and try and continue the meeting. Security started assaulting the person who tried to go up to the mic. They actually ended up calling the cops. We had to move to the parking lot. We elected a new chairman, which is not being recognized by the Arizona GOP at this point. And to this day, as I speak, they have not counted the ballots. They are at the...
Okay, hold that for 1 second right there. My version that we're recording is doubling up. I'm going to hang up and call you right back. You there?
Hey, Paco.
Okay, all right. So what's happening is it probably was clear coming out the station, but I'm recording on my Skype and it was doubling, and I want to make sure this version is as good as possible. It was doubling for a little bit, but you were still fine, so that's why I let you go. But it's right there where you said the ballots haven't been counted yet. Take off from right there?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like I was saying, the ballots to this moment have still not been counted. We walked, and the meeting was ended at 9:30. They said that they were going to continue to count the ballots into the night. They were not able to complete that count. They then said that they were going to start counting on Monday at 1:30. They continued to try and count those until 10 o'clock on Monday and still had issues. I guess there was broken machines and all sorts of things like that. And to my knowledge now, they are also continuing to count. We've had Ron Paul people there, maintaining chain of custody the entire time. And I believe that they are now moving to a hand count. But this is, it's kind of like what happened in, I think it's Iowa, where the business is supposed to happen that day. And they've been pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. And to this moment, we still don't know who won the main chunk of delegates, which is the at-large delegates. And so what I just wanted to clarify that everyone should know is Article 3, Section 17 of Robert's Rules of Order says that a privileged motion is required to suspend or end the meeting while there is still business in progress. And that 100% requires a 2/3 majority vote. And we did not get that. And so they broke their own rules. They broke their own rules in Oklahoma. And I would not be surprised if they try and do that again. So listeners, please be aware of that.
Okay, well, we got about another minute and a half or two, and I'm glad you were able to get that out. Real quickly before we run out of time, if anybody wants any more questions for you, they want to reach you, how can they get in contact with you about the convention? Maybe they got some tips, and also some tips about the live stream they might want to ask you.
Absolutely. I'd love to answer questions of people that want to do these live streams because it's so important that we have accountability. So you can email me at azpatriotforpeace@gmail.com, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions you have, both about the proceedings of the Arizona Convention and things to watch out for, but more specifically, if you need any help with the technology behind live streaming these events.
Yep. Okay, and also remember, man, if anything comes up, any updates, anything like that, please let me know. I always tell my guests they're more than welcome to come back on the show because, you never know what else is going to come up. Who knows what's going to come out of Arizona, in the next couple of days. We just don't know what's going down. But, again, we definitely appreciate everything you did. And to the listeners, to let everybody know, I do got majority of the audio was fine on my end except that little part. So I'm going to be putting it up on YouTube. I'm at Paco757 on YouTube, Paco757. I know we had some listeners drop off, and I apologize for that. But I'll be putting that up if you can't hear me now, and I'll post it up in the chat as well. But I appreciate you joining us today, man. And, yeah, anything else you want to add or finish off with?
Well, like I said, this isn't over yet. It's literally not over yet in Arizona specifically. So as this develops, I'll let you know.
Yeah, man, keep me posted. You got me on Facebook. You got my number now. Definitely, that's what we're trying to do is get the word out about what's going on with these conventions. Because if we don't, then we have to read about it. And we don't like what we're reading. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm not.
And then one last thing. A really important thing. I know I talked about this earlier about changing government by becoming government. We only have 15 days left to become a precinct committeeman. And that's going to be the only way that we actually change who these delegates are in the future, how we vote on the Robert's Rules of Order and things like that. So if you go to becomeapc.com, it'll explain the entire process. You've got to print a piece of paper out, get 10 signatures, and go to your district meeting. So change government by becoming government.
Exactly, and there we go. That's our cue. I'm Paco, your host. Stay tuned.